Over a month ago, I announced the 2023 Science Pokemon Challenge, where I asked you to make a Pokemon design. It could be a regional variant, a new evolution, heck, even a convergent line, just anything related to a canon Pokemon. But here's the catch, they had to be based off of a science topic. It's my channel's current identity, as I'm working on an independent STEM-based creature collector myself. But today isn't about my project, it's about all these fantastic designs people have made. I wanted to avoid calling this a contest because at the end of the day, it's a challenge. It's a prompt, and if you did it, you won. We had 80 winners. It's an exercise to look into scientific phenomena for creature designs, just like what Pokemon does from time to time. Now, I did say that I would choose a few to show off, maybe render them in my style, but there are just so many great concepts and designs that we'll be looking at about a dozen designs today by some wonderful artists that you should all check out in the description below. Let's check out these designs. Black holes are celestial bodies that are so dense that even light can't escape them. As matter fall into black holes, they orbit around it and form a disk shape called the accretion disk, which we could see in Kambu-san's design here, where an exploding solar star absorbs another nearby celestial being to become Novatone. What a hauntingly great design. You can see that the outline is like how light is bent around a black hole. And yeah, black holes are usually formed when massive stars blow up in a supernova. But sometimes those stars form white dwarfs, like what we see in Shanha's Crayon's Ghastly line. Gosh, gotta love that art style. From what I read, I don't think white dwarfs themselves turn into black holes. The only site that claims so is a commercial site that has a confusing paragraph. It seems that the general consensus is that when smaller stars supernova, they turn into white dwarfs, but when big stars blow up, they turn into a black hole or a neutron star. But we're still talking about black holes here. Sometimes, the accretion disk sucks in so much matter spinning around so quickly that they glow, and the magnetic field that forms around the disk makes some of the matter jet off. This is called a quasar, like the Cosmome Evolution Chronova made by Zeeble. Just look at this wonderful art. They even made a sheet with additional notes. But yeah, these quasars are huge light shows shooting material out of the accretion disk at an enormous scale. But speaking of magnets, we've had quite a few of those submissions as well. One of the most common submissions were the extensions to Magnemite's line, such as this Magnetite Magnemite by TC Gaming 55. I really like how the parts were organized, very satisfying, kinda reminiscent of the crystal structure of Magnetite. And yeah, the rock variant of a Magnemite line really makes a lot of sense. Magnetite is a mineral that could be magnetized into a permanent magnet, but it's not the only way magnets are formed, as running an electrical current can also induce a magnetic field. Now, Og Art from Instagram has something really unique here, which is a parallel line that clearly has the Magnemite line in mind. I don't think we've seen anything quite like this, like a cross-gen supporting design in Pokemon, but I really like it. Almost sounds like a new archetype Pokemon can do in the future. Status zone here is based on the stator portion of an alternator. Alternators have a rotating magnet that passes by the wires of the stator, which is the part that doesn't move. And remember how electric currents can generate a magnetic field? Well, the opposite could happen, where a moving magnetic field can generate an electrical current. Alternating current in this setup. In fact, your car has this to help keep its battery usable and not crust over as easily. Now this next line. Ooh, I'm hesitant to show, but it's so good. I have a design in Stemma that will be based off of this concept, but Radon Region on Instagram did oh so well with the superconductor Magnemite line. Usually, superconductors don't really react to the magnetic field, but when they are super cold, they are repelled from the magnet, which lets them hover over it. There's so much to talk about this concept, which I'll talk about more in the future, but for now, look at these clever pucks! I love the new evolution as well. Alright, now there are a few other entries that go over the same concepts as some of my designs that I haven't shown off yet. I guess great minds must have thunk alike. For this next submission, you wouldn't guess where they uploaded this. Gold Mudkip from Scratch.mit pulling up with the Swablu line based off of the neon light? This in of itself is so impressive. Very cute, gotta love the lineless art style, and yeah, gases glow when they're excited. Neon was used especially because it's a noble gas which don't really react with other elements, so they don't react with the glass or the filament or other gases that are in the tube. Remember that unreactive part, because I'm gonna bring up a unique ability when I talk more about noble gases one day. Now check out this amazing fluid Applin line by SaucePesto1 on Twitter. Okay, I'll admit that when Applin was released and when people were stuffing Applin into a bunch of fruit, I kinda got tired of it, but this? The thought process behind this is Gigantamax brain. This convergent Applin is a stagnant bucket of water that turns turbulent, with their wings chaotically spraying all over. Or they could become laminar flow, that's the smooth and satisfying stream of fluid. Goated concept, goated designs, dang, the evolutions also use different pipes. I have a 2-stage design that goes from laminar to turbulent flow, but frankly, this is probably better. And here we have Minop Games' Turritopsis dorni variant of Tentacool. It's the immortal jellyfish. So how the jellyfish works is that it flips itself over when they're hurt or when they're aged, and it reverts back to their polyp stage, like their baby stage, which grows back into an adult. It's like an infinite life glitch. So the whole gimmick of that animal is that it flips itself over. Now look at the colors that they chose. It's a beautiful palette. And it's a very cute line. I used to have a Turritopsis dornimon as a counterpart to my tardigrade Notigrade. I'll need to find a better concept to pair it with, cause it was just like a long-lasting light bulb, but I do want it to have a unique form-changing ability if I ever decide to bring it back. Now that we're underwater, let's talk about some aquatic submissions. Vampire Squids on Instagram has made 2 evolutions to Galar's Aracuda that each go deeper and deeper into the sea. Gotta appreciate how each stage changes the design drastically while maintaining that longfish identity. It's truly a very inspiring concept as the Barracuda turns into a dragonfish and gains bioluminescence as it descends into the Hadal Zone, the deepest zone of the sea, about 6 to 10 kilometers below sea level. Sea Stolly on Tumblr made a lovely water cycle line out of Drippy's family. Their poses are so clean as Drippy is flowing across the ground and rises as Draparate and Drapitation wears a cloud raining all that water back down. It's adorable! I don't know if you know, but there's actually a rainbow effect in Pokemon, which happens when you use Water Pledge and Fire Pledge together in doubles. It's a very niche mechanic that makes additional effects happen more often, but I can imagine Drapitation here being able to set that up on their own. Speaking of precipitation, Person 1360 from DeviantArt had a Castform variant based off of the phases of matter. Simple enough, with very cute designs. These were submitted before my weather video was live, so this is, again, the convergence of minds. This particular set more or less represented each of the phases accurately, with the solid ice cube melting into rainwater, and eventually having gaseous smog, and finally the plasma globe. The 4 fundamental states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. I know there's a lot of comments that talk about Einstein-Bose condensate. That's something different. It's a different state of matter, but that's not fundamental. That's only in extreme states. Speaking of phase changes, this Mantike line by Sparlet shows off the latent frost effect, which happens when the surface is so hot that dropping in liquid water makes an intact droplet. as the bottom instantly vaporizes into steam and lets the rest of the droplet to hover above the surface, sitting on that steam until the droplet dries out eventually. Now, they didn't have a specific social media platform they posted this on, but I just want to say that if you're looking for a place to post art, because these drawings are amazing, I know there's a big Fakemon community on Instagram, which I'd currently recommend. That or Tumblr, I guess. But want to check out another weird phenomena? Here's a Mercury Milcery by the loneliest of Eevees on Instagram, which, wow, what a clever twist. Turning liquid cream into liquid metal, and the evolution wears all sorts of different metals mercury can mix with. So when mercury mixes with another metal, that's called an amalgam. So mercury can mix with gold or mercury and silver, but that's not all. The loneliest of Eevees took another step and made a Gigantamax form based off of an amalgam of mercury and aluminum, which makes this tall, hollow structure. Amazing designs all around. Speaking of chemical reactions, here's Pimpollo Algo's Drunk Cherubi and their evolution, based on how yeast and bacteria can live off of a fruit's sugar and start fermenting. Fermentation is a process used by yeast and some bacteria that allows them to use sugar for energy without the need for oxygen. But in doing so, they have to give off CO2 and ethanol as byproducts. There's a lot of drinks or food that use fermentation, such as wine or yogurt or kombucha and sauerkraut. And a lot of those foods are encouraged for their probiotics, which are live bacterial strains that help your digestive system. But yeah, very fun designs by Pimpollo here. And then we have Galvanism Gal's new Doll of Evolution on Tumblr, which shows off grafting. It's not just a spooky body horror thing from Elden Ring. Rather, it's a technique horticulturalists can use to attach a part of a plant to another, and that part still lives on. Now, I've heard of grafting plants before, but I haven't heard of this specific tree referenced by this design, which is a tree of many fruits. A professor who started out making an art project of a tree with different flowers ended up making a major horticultural feat, with about 40 different fruits coming off of this one tree. What a great concept to turn into a Pokemon. Gotta love the colors that they used here too. Remember to go check out each of these wonderful artists down in the description. Again, this was a challenge. If you made a submission, you did it. There were so many great entries, but I just couldn't talk about them all. But the point of the challenge was to get people into researching a topic to the point that you're comfortable in making a whole design off of it. These are the kind of steps you take in making any kind of a design. Also, by the way, this whole event isn't connected to my personal project, which I usually talk about in my videos. We'll go back to Stemma in my next video. Alright, thank you everyone for making it to the end of this video. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for directly supporting me. I couldn't really stream this summer, so I'll try to make more posts there. Can't promise anything, but I'll certainly try. Anyways, hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one.